All right, guys. So I'd like to, obviously, I've described my frustration with the demon dice versus the Dark Angels dice. Demons roll high, Dark Angels roll low. I got frustrated and wanted to prove it. I'm not done yet, but let's describe here the two dies that I will be picking up in a second here. The first one on the left here always wants to roll a 1, and the one on the right always wants to roll a 3. This will be demonstrated using a salt water mixture of roughly 1/3 cup of water to 2 to 3 tablespoons of Morton salt or whatever brand you prefer. The test will be performed by dropping the die in a sequential order starting at number 1 face up and working your way up from 1 to 6, observing its rotation as it drops. Ideally, you should be dropping it in a way that keeps it staying on the number you started with it face up. So when I drop it with the 1 up, it stays at a 1. When I drop it with a 2 up, it goes back to a 1. We're starting to observe some of the bias this die has. When I drop it at a 3, it goes back to a 1. When I drop it at a 4, it goes back to a 1. When I drop it at a 5, it goes back to a 1. It gets interesting when it hits the 6. This is telling us something. When it keeps landing on 6 over and over again, 6 and 1 are on opposite sides of each other. So we already knew that there was a bias to the 1. But now we're starting to understand where the air bubble is a little bit more. If the 6 isn't spinning to, if it's not spinning to the 1, that means that the air bubble is evenly balanced. The 6 would normally want to lean one way or the other. It hits 1 that time. And after a few other tries, we get a few extra results, but it seems to stay. We get a 4 and a 5, I believe. So it seems to stay relatively close to those two, and then otherwise going to the 1, but not really hitting 2 or 3. So this is kind of informing us based on the numbering positions and where it's turning up most, where this air bubble is relative to the 1 side that makes it want to turn back to the 1. Now we're going backwards. We did the 5 and it went to a 1, 4 back to a 1, 3, oh, we're doing the 6 again. So we didn't finish that one. We'll start at a 1, stays at a 1, 2 goes to a 6. Now we get a 3 out of the 2. I said this one favors a 3, and you'll start seeing it happen more. But this one's a little more subtle. It stays on that 2 for a little bit longer. The 3, when we drop it as a 3, stays. So this is a slightly more inconspicuous bubble with a bizarre bias. The 4 turns it to a 5, which will also be some clues to us. The fact that it moved from a 4 to a 5 tells us a little bit more about the air bubble. So when we dropped it at a 5 and a 6, we got a 3. And if we dropped it at a 4, it was giving us a slightly different number each time. So now we're working backwards from 6. We get a 3 again. Dropping from 5, we get a 3 again. 4, we get a 3 again. 4 again. Back to a 3. So we're seeing that a bias is leading towards the 3. But we need a little more evidence before we can understand exactly where the bias is heading. At this point, what I'm going to start doing is dropping at different sides that help me kind of figure out where exactly this air bubble is. So I can tell that it favors 3 the most, but it has an inclination towards 1 and 2 depending on which side is up. So I will just start picking different sides to have up. So this 4, I suspect, is kind of in the middle of it, because 4 is on the opposite side of 3, since all sides add up to 7. So now I'm going to start dropping it with certain edges facing upwards instead of certain numbers. And this is going to be another way that we can see how it spins when we drop it. For example, it goes 4, 2, and 3 here, and which means 4 will spin in that direction towards the 3 if I drop it with the bubble leaning that way. In this case, it wanted to go towards the 5. So I'm going to try it again, dropping it as a 4, and it once again goes in the direction of the 5 towards the 3. You saw it almost went to the 3 there. So that's telling us that the air bubble is closer to 3 and 5 than it is to 4 and 6. And it's also telling us that the 1 and 2, that's information that we can corroborate with on when we drop it from 1s and 2 sides as well. Anyway, I think you guys get the point. I'll just let the rest of the footage run, and at this point I'll be using corners and edges at facing up instead of a number. And this is a more precise way to track where you're going to find that air bubble. So I'll occasionally have the 3 be one of the when you hold a corner up like that, you get 3 numbers facing up. So that was a 1, 5, and a 3, and it goes to the 5. So we know that the 3 has a stronger bias than the 5 does, but that bubble is closer to the corner of the 3 and the 5 than it is to the 6, the 2, or the 1, or the 4. So we can try putting it face up. The 2 gets rejected for the 3, so we see the bubble kind of leaning towards that direction. We're going to put it more towards the bottom now. Let's try a 1 and a 3. It goes straight to the 3. So whatever edge you based on the edges you choose to have facing up, you will slowly find where these air bubbles lie inside the die.